Hello everybody, it's Martini here, bringing you my first video build guide. This guide will cover my newest character that I just got to maps yesterday, a level 87 Elementalist called It's Explosive Teeny. This is an auto burner, as I like to call it. So I'm going to jump in this tier 8 Infested Valley, and we'll do a quick map demo, and I'll explain the concepts behind the build and how it works. So our damage comes mainly from Herald of Thunder, igniting enemies and prolifing those ignites. To proc the Herald of Thunder, we shock enemies using either Abarath's Hooves or Flame Blast. Once we kill the shocked enemy, our Herald of Thunder begins, and the burning prolif madness ensues. Since most enemies can be killed with the Abarath's Fury ability that's given by the Abarath's Hooves unique, we don't actually need to attack anything, so we can use Phase Run to quickly move through enemies, giving us move speed and phasing, allowing us to pass through them. If there's ever a tanky single target, like a boss, that our Herald of Thunder is not strong enough to kill, we can use our Flame Blast, Val Flame Blast combo, and that usually does enough damage to take them out, because it produces a pretty hefty ignite. Okay, so that ends the map demo. Didn't completely clear it, just wanted to do a quick run through to show what the build looks like. And now I'll take a look at some of the gear, and after the gear, we'll go over the skill tree. So looking at flasks initially, if you weren't paying too much attention during the map run, Quicksilver Flask makes us go fast. We use a life pot and a mana pot because we're mind over matter, so this keeps our life total and mana total reasonable as we take some hits. Witchfire Brew gives us the Despair Curse, which helps with damage over time, and also it has damage over time on the flask. So this is just a damage boosting flask. The fact that it's a Stiv Knight doesn't matter too much. If we click it on top of an enemy, it will blind them, but the evasion is pretty minimal since we don't have that much evasion anyway. And then a Basalt Flask with warding, just to make us curse immune and help mitigate some physical damage. So now the items that help us deal damage, we have Abarath's Hooves, linked with Added Lightning, Innervate, Immolate, and Combustion. Added Lightning and Immolate are purely there to boost the damage. Innervate gives us lightning damage and also shock chance. Combustion allows us to ignite and then also reduces enemy fire res, so this combo works really well on the Abaraths. For a weapon, we're using Doriani's Catalyst. High elemental damage roll is best. Cast speed is quite nice also for helping your Flame Blast cast speed. For our chest, Becoming Calamity gives us +2 to socketed Herald gems, and then if you can get a corruption with additional levels to the gem, that also helps boost damage. We have Herald of Thunder linked with Combustion, Deadly Ailments, Swift Affliction, Burning Damage, and Ignite Proliferation. This Ignite Proliferation is the final link. We don't actually need the prolif for it. It just gives a nice more multiplier. So if you have a 5 link, you can drop this. Or if you have a red socket instead of a blue, you can use a level 4 Empower, although I've found that Ignite Prolif is actually a bigger damage multiplier than Empower. For our rings, we use Stormfires. This allows our lightning damage to ignite, and also gives us some increased burning damage for each shock we've dealt to a non-shocked enemy recently. So as we run through monsters, this ramps up our burning damage and helps our clear speed quite a bit. For our neck, we use the Yoke of Suffering. This is optional. I found it's pretty fun to play with. You could use a rare neck with life on it, but the elemental damage can shock mod allows our Flame Blast to hit for pretty big shocks. And the implicit, or I should say the explicit, 10% chance to shock is also quite useful because we're not at 100% shock chance on our build, so any amount we can get helps with generating shocks. Speaking of shocks, we use the Esh's Mirror, so the more enemies we kill that are shocked, it ramps up our lightning damage, and this lightning damage applies to everything, not just attacks and spells. So it both boosts our Abarath's damage, it boosts our Herald of Thunder damage, and it also increases our Flame Blast damage if we happen to get a cast off after having recently killed enemies. So for Flame Blast, we equip this in a horror crafted helmet with burning damage support. This gives us a pseudo 6-link Flame Blast, linked with Combustion, Swift Affliction, and Deadly Ailments. Our final pieces of gear, we use a pair of Shaper Gloves with the faster casting support in it. This is not necessary, you could put faster casting in this link, but I really like having Portal linked with Enhance and faster casting. It makes for very efficient exiting of the map. But you could just as well put a faster casting gem here and not worry about the Portal gem. But also in this link, we use Phase Run, Increased Duration, and the Enhance. This allows us to quickly cast Phase Run. It lasts for a while, and the Enhance makes us run faster while we're phasing. If you look on the gloves, we also have very high cold resistance. And then if you look at this belt, also very high cold res. So we're aiming for high life, high cold res, because none of our other gear has cold res on it. You could potentially get it on a helmet. I don't, so I needed all the cold res I can get from these two pieces. And then just using an Abyss Jewel with life. A little bit of move speed, and onslaught on kill. That's all the gear. Other than, I didn't go over all the gem links, but we use a lightning golem and a flame golem for some damage and cast speed. I'll do a quick run through of the skill tree now. For damage on this tree, we focus on fire damage, elemental damage, burning damage, and chance to ignite. This is all the damage types that are useful to us. The spell damage nodes here do buff our Abrath's damage and our Flame Blast, but don't really impact the ignites, so it's questionable whether these are actually good nodes. But it's not that much different if you went around the outside, so I think it's worth it. We pick up more elemental damage, burning damage here, all the life nodes we can get, and Mind Over Matter, and some mana nodes. Shadow Area has some good life nodes, good damage over time nodes. For jewels, these are just jewels I had lying around, but we look for life and damage mostly. Mana would be a good stat as well. The only unique jewel I'm using is Intuitive Leap. This allows us to pick up the efficient life node melding, Overcharge for charge generation as we're mapping, and some really good mana and mana regen nodes here. We are Elementalists here. Core node being Beacon of Ruin. This gives us prolif on all of our ignites. It gives us more damage with ignites. It gives us minimum shock effectiveness. So this node is amazing. On the side, pick up Pendulum of Destruction for a little bit more AoE and damage. And Liege of the Primordial, allowing us to run 2 golems and gives us a little more damage. This is the core node though, that matters for the build. Lastly, for damage, we use Elemental Overload. If we've crit recently, or I should say in the past 8 seconds, we get 40% more elemental damage, which does scale our ignites. That's a very good node. Well, that's the That's the end of the build. Did the map demo, did the tree discussion, and the skill discussion. If you have any other questions about it, feel free to post comments or visit my Twitch stream and ask live. Hopefully you guys like the build, and give it a try yourself if you're interested.